Recently, I posted a video going over my top 10 players I think have the best chance to win the Heisman Trophy in 2020, which, by the way, if you haven't checked out that video, make sure you go watch it. Now, that list was filled with mainly quarterbacks, mainly because this is such a quarterback-driven award now. Quarterbacks having a higher chance to win the Heisman, I thought I'd post this video of 10 sleeper quarterbacks that have a chance to win the Heisman Trophy in 2020. Before I get to the sleepers, make sure to subscribe if you're brand new to my channel. I post a lot of college football content, so if you're a fan of college football, this is definitely the channel for you. Make sure you also hit that notification bell, that way you never miss an upload. Just for a quick reference, these are the 6 quarterbacks I had in my top 10, so they're not going to be in the sleepers list. I had Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Sam Howell, Keaton Slovis, Spencer Rattler, and De'Ara King. So as I mentioned, these are 10 sleeper quarterbacks that can win, and these are no particular order, so don't think this is like 11 through 20 or anything. These are just 10 guys that I think have a chance to win. A lot of early betting sites have Jamie Newman as one of the favorites to win the Heisman, but I just don't see it yet. Now, I am high on Newman, and I actually think he's an upgrade over Jake Fromm, but I don't see him finishing in the top 3 or maybe even the top 5 of Heisman voting. Now, he very well could, hence why he's on my sleeper list. Georgia's going to be really good in 2020, and he has a chance to put up really good numbers for the Bulldogs. He has to prove he can get it done against SEC competition before I'm officially sold on him. Again, here's another guy who actually has really high odds, but he wasn't on my top 10 list, so he makes my sleepers list. Sam Ehlinger has been really good for Texas over the last few seasons, and he is among the most accomplished returning quarterbacks in college football. This will now be his 4th season as the starter for the Longhorns. He's racked up 8,100 yards of offense and 80 total touchdowns over the past 2 seasons. In 13 games last season, he completed 65% of his passes for 3,700 yards with 32 touchdowns and 10 interceptions while rushing for 650 yards and 7 touchdowns. A few weeks ago, Kellen Mond said that he believes Texas A&M can take the leap that LSU did in 2019. Now, if he's right and Texas A&M makes this jump and becomes a title contender, you would have to assume it's largely due to the play of the senior. Mond enters his 4th and final season as a starter for the Aggies. Over the last 2 seasons, he's thrown for 44 touchdowns and 6,000 yards. During his time at A&M, he's also rushed for 1,300 yards and 18 touchdowns. Now, after a brutal schedule in 2019, A&M's schedule is a little lighter this upcoming year. They don't play Alabama and LSU until the final 2 weeks of the season, so if Mond can have a great season up to that point, a victory over one of those 2 teams could give him his Heisman moment. Brennan has arguably the toughest job we've ever seen in college football history. He has to be the follow-up to the greatest season we've ever seen from a quarterback in college football in Joe Burrow. Though Brennan won't put up the numbers Burrow did, he still has a very solid chance to have a great year. Brennan is already very familiar with the offense and has some experience under Centerwall at LSU. It'll also benefit him having Jamar Chase, who is the best receiver in the nation. I don't know if it's just me, but it seems like Kyle Trask has been in Florida forever. But this will finally be the year he enters the season knowing it's his team. Trask entered last season as a backup, but a season-ending injury to Felipe Franks made him the starter. He was great for Florida, leading them to an 11-2 season that was capped off with an Orange Bowl victory over Virginia. He completed 67% of his passes for 3,000 yards and 29 total touchdowns. With his confidence at an all-time high and Florida looking primed to compete in the SEC, could Trask be the first Gators quarterback to win the Heisman since Tim Tebow? Ian Book kind of seems like he's flown under the radar during his entire career at Notre Dame. He's gone 20-3 as a starter, so he's won nearly every game he started for the Irish. He threw for over 3,000 yards last year and had 34 touchdowns with only 6 interceptions. He really dominated over his final 4 games of the year, throwing for over 1,000 yards with 13 touchdowns and no interceptions. Adrian Martinez was actually near the top of a lot of Heisman odds to begin the 2019 season, but he really struggled last year. However, he's back for his 3rd year, and hopefully this is the year Nebraska can finally bounce back. Through his first 2 years at Nebraska, he has thrown for over 4,500 yards with 27 passing touchdowns. He's also rushed for 1,300 yards with 15 rushing touchdowns. If Nebraska can win some games in 2020 and Martinez can throw for 3,000 yards while rushing for 1,000, he can find himself in New York at the end of the year. With Mike Leach as the new head coach, Mississippi State might be the most explosive offense in the SEC in 2020. Quarterbacks have thrived under Leach through the years, and there's no reason KJ Costello shouldn't. Costello transferred from Stanford, where he spent 3 seasons as their starting quarterback. While being their starter, he threw for 6,100 yards with 49 touchdowns. His best season came in 2018 when he completed 65% of his passes while throwing for 3,500 yards and 29 touchdowns. With Mike Leach as the head coach, it would be almost shocking if KJ Costello doesn't finish with at least 4,000 yards this year. There is a solid chance that Mac Jones doesn't even start the majority of games in 2020 for Alabama. Alabama hasn't officially named a starter yet, but for this video's purpose, we'll give it to Mac Jones. He already has experience with the Tide, as he started 4 games last year when Tua Tagovailoa went down. He completed 70 of 98 passes for 1,200 yards with 13 touchdowns and only 2 interceptions. Alabama quarterbacks have had some really good seasons as of late, and he'll have some of the best weapons in the entire country to throw the ball to. Oklahoma State could very well have the best offense in 2020, and that'll largely be based on how Spencer Sanders competes in his second season as the starter. He was named the Big 12 Offensive Freshman of the Year by the league's head coaches last year, and he'll look to improve on his great season. In 11 games, he completed 63% of his passes for over 2,000 yards. He threw 16 touchdowns and added 600 yards and 2 scores on the ground. Sanders missed a few games last year, so hopefully he'll have a fully healthy season to help the Cowboys compete potentially for a Big 12 championship. Alright, well, those are 10 sleeper quarterbacks I think have a solid chance to win the Heisman in 2020. Let me know in the comments who you think the biggest sleeper is to potentially win the Heisman. With there being so many great quarterbacks this upcoming season in college football, I'm likely going to have another video in which I go over 10 sleeper quarterbacks as well. So if you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Because as I mentioned, if you love college football, this is definitely the channel for you. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video.